Hey owners, this is for you. If you have delegated the tasks, but you're still rereading parent emails, slipping into staff meetings just in case, or waking up at 2 a.m. with a running list in your head, that is not delegation. That is you still being the safety net, the just in case person. And here's the thing, you've become the system. And when you are the system, everything depends on you, which is why leadership feels so heavy. That's why I'm hosting a live workshop. Delegation isn't the finish line. Ownership is, and it's for owners only, not directors, regionals, or executive directors, owners only. And I'm hosting it on Thursday, October 23rd at 1 p.m. Eastern. So you can go grab your spot at schoolsofexcellence.com/delegation. It's time for you to step back into the role that only you can hold, the strategic leader. And with clear standards and steady rhythms, your team won't just follow, they will rise with you. Welcome to the Schools of Excellence podcast, where we transform everyday leadership struggles into powerful legacies that impact generations. I'm your host, Chanie Wilschanski, a 20-year veteran of school leadership who has helped hundreds of school leaders achieve what many thought was impossible through our signature programs, School Leadership HQ and Enrollment Engine. With our battle-tested frameworks and blueprints, leaders have achieved 90% parent retention, 50% less staff turnover, 15% improved profit margins, and increased enrollment by 25%. My mission is simple: to revolutionize school leadership by elevating the skills, the habits, and mindset of passionate leaders ready to create lasting change. Join me as we build your legacy of excellence, one transformative conversation at a time. Hello there, and welcome back to the Schools of Excellence podcast. So, I'm going to invite you to drop right in here with me. Have you ever found yourself saying things like, it's just easier if I do it myself? By the time I explain it, I could have already finished it. But then 3 weeks later, you're on the opposite extreme and you're like, this isn't working. I should just fire them. Forget it. I need to start over. I need a reset. I need a refresh. They weren't the right fit. Now we have all the right fits. Listen, if you're nodding alone, okay, you're not alone. And this is what I typically call the overfunctioning versus the burn it all down trap. Okay. And it starts with a false binary thinking where we believe there's only two options. The overfunctioning option, which is I'm the only one who knows how to do this, to the burn it all down option, which is they're not the right fit. It's time for them to get out. And so I talk a lot about, and especially in my upcoming book that I'm writing that you guys all know about, I talk about how leaders know two channels of working. It's like, go, 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 or like short stop, like full stop, crash, burn it, like just can't. Both sides are driven by the same root problem. We're looking for instant relief. So I want to tell you about a client. We'll call her Sarah, and she did a leadership consult with me. Leadership consult is something you can check out in the show notes. I have a couple spots of that per month. Anyways, calling her Sarah, again, to protect her privacy. So Sarah had a director that she was working with, and she had several directors on the team, but one of her directors told her, I don't work from a calendar. I don't want to use a calendar. I work from a notebook. And Sarah's kind of internal first thought was like, okay, like you don't want to work from the calendar, you want to work from the notebook. Fine, I'll build the calendar for you, right? That is classic overfunctioning. Like I'll build the Trello board for you. I'll give you the checklist. I'll give you this thing. I'll build it for you. And on the consult, I asked Sarah, I said, what does it mean when someone says, I work from a notebook? What is that actually communicating, right? When someone says, I like to-do lists, I work from a notebook, I don't like calendars, I don't do technology, I have a to-do list, I have a paper, I have a this, I have a that, right? What is it actually communicating? Okay. What it's actually communicating is comfort over clarity. A to-do list is comfortable. A calendar forces clarity and accountability. You can't hide behind the calendar. The calendar says you were going to do it at 12. You didn't. You can give me 40 billion excuses. You still didn't do it. Okay. So a calendar forces clarity and accountability. Another reason why people like using to-do lists and notebooks versus a calendar is control of access. A notebook is private. A calendar is shareable and reviewable, which means accountability is going to happen here. Well, instead of saying, I don't like accountability or, I feel threatened by accountability, it's, I don't like technology. I'm a paper and pen kind of girl. Great. Become a calendar kind of girl because that's the leader that you need to be. Okay. So the thing to understand is that if your work only lives in a private to do list, your job can never be reviewed. That is why calendars work because they become visible so you can prioritize and you can finish your tasks, not live behind, well, I was busy for 8 hours. I just didn't get everything done. Right. And so what happens here in this false binary thinking is that we believe that when a person comes to us with a legitimate reason of like, I don't like calendars, I don't like technology, I like to do lists, that we should buy their bullshit. No, that is not what we do, right? We don't just absorb and overfunction. I'm just like, okay, I'll do it for you. And we don't do the other thing, which is like, oh, they're just not a right fit. Let me just fire them. No, there is a different way. I'm going to talk about that in a minute. Okay. The other trap that I find often when it comes to this is the CPR hire trap, what I like to call, right? Most leaders wait to hire until they're dying, right? By the time they hire someone, like they need CPR, right? So then what are the words that come out of their mouth? I thought they'd hit the ground running. I don't have time to babysit people. Why am I still drowning if I hired help? A message I got from a client a couple weeks ago was, why am I still carrying everyone's weight? I feel so defeated by the amount of hand holding that I'm having to do with my admin level. I'm really working on holding them accountable, and so it makes me feel like I have to hold their hand every step of the way. And no matter how much I think that I got done or crossed off, everything typically still comes back to me, right? Which means we're looking for instant relief. And then when instant relief doesn't show up, we're like, bad hire, bad system. They should already know this by now. Get out. That's not delegation. That is desperation. Okay. So let's go back to Sarah, right? Where I was talking. So when these things happen, like again, we either go to either extreme. We give grace. We're like, oh, let me give grace. They're in a learning curve, blah, blah, blah. Or it's like, get out, right? So what does that typically look like in real life, right? So Sarah, her director, had a baby. And so she gave grace to this director in her postpartum season, as she should, right? But the issue is Grace went to the opposite extreme and it morphed into lowering standards. So her reporting rhythms on enrollment stopped. She stopped calendaring, and Sarah absorbed all the responsibilities in the name of grace temporarily. But what happened is 9 months later, when Sarah started to like invite her back into the standard of like, this is the normal standard, the director was like, oh, it's just too much. It's so overwhelming. There's so much going on here. And it's like, no. The standard never changed. The follow through did because Sarah didn't follow through in the name of grace, quote unquote. And so on the consult, I said, grace never means lowering the standard. It means that you right size the load while you keep the standard visible. I'm going to say that again. Grace doesn't mean lowering the standard. You right size the load for a period of time, and you're very clear about how long that period of time is. But you always keep the standard visible. It's never like, well, the standard doesn't exist anymore. No. Standard still exists, right? That is why in my book, Integrity of Standards, which is one of the chapters in my book, This Can't Be Normal, is where I talk about standards because this is really, really challenging for people. Okay. So where is the messy middle ground, right? Do it all by myself or I fire them is the third option. Okay. And this is where people struggle again with ambiguity. We say things like, she's really great at some things, but really not so good at these things. Or I don't know if this is a training issue or a right fit issue. Or maybe I just need a different person. And here's the reality, right? Here is the actual truth. Sometimes the gap is a training gap. Sometimes the gap means that the person belongs in a different role. Hey, school owners, I see you. You've built the team, you've trusted others with the work, and somehow it still feels like everything lands on your shoulders. And that weight is exhausting. What if you could stop carrying it all alone? What if you can finally see exactly where your leadership is getting stuck and what to do next? That's where the strategic leadership scorecard was made for. In just 2 minutes, it will give you a clear diagnosis in one of the core areas of leading a school: enrollment, financial health, staff culture, or parent engagement. You'll get practical steps and trusted resources to help you lighten your load and unlock real ownership in your team to be able to lead with confidence. You deserve this level of steadiness. So take the scorecard now so you can lead with clarity and know that your school runs on shared ownership, real standards, and rhythms of accountability. And sometimes it's not a human gap, it's a systems gap, or it's a rhythm gap, or it's a software gap. Okay. So I'll give you an example, right? With Sarah, right? She set a standard in the company after I spoke with her in the consult. Priorities live in the calendar, not a to-do list. That's the standard in this company. Nobody has to-do list. You want a daily list of like taking the stuff from your calendar and putting on a daily list so you can get the dopamine of crossing things off? Be my guest. But priorities live in the calendar. They do not live in a to-do list. Okay. Now, the reason why for all of you to-do list junkies, like, let me tell you something. Okay. To-do lists are really nice. I have to-do lists when I need to sit and cook a holiday meal, right? I have my list of things that I know I need to cook today. But I also organize the list based on days, right? I don't cook everything in one day. If I'm cooking for 20 or 30 people over a 3-day holiday, I cook it in days, right? So it's like, okay, on Thursday, I'm cooking these items. On Friday, I'm cooking these things. On Saturday night, I'm going to be cooking these things, whatever it is, right? I love a good to-do list, but priorities live in a calendar. So I'll give you a great example. They're same concept of the calendar, just different client, right? So I had a different client, different owner who was struggling with the director, also refused to use the calendar. She kept saying she wanted to use a to-do list. And the director told her priorities need to live in the calendar, right? Not a to-do list. And she's like, no, I still get everything done. Like, it's not an issue. Okay. So at the end of the day, she sits with her and she's like, okay, so tell me what you got done today, right? So she shows her to-do list, right? Which like 90 things are on the list. She checked off 7 of them, right? And she's like, look, I checked off 7 things off the to-do list, okay? Of those 7 things, 5 of those things were not due for another 7 months. I will repeat it again for the people in the back. 5 of the things that she spent time on, which took her almost 6 hours, were things that were not due for another 7 months. It didn't need to get done, right? But the director was coming to this place of like, I'm so amazing. I got ahead. I am like anticipating, I'm forecasting, I'm being proactive. I am getting ahead of the game. And I'm like, no, you're not. You're being an idiot. That is not called getting ahead. Doing something 7 months in advance when you didn't do what you actually had to do today, which was 3 classroom observations and 2 one-on-ones, that is not a good director. That is a director who is avoiding and abdicating her responsibility and demanding a paycheck when she didn't do her effing job. You didn't do your job. Your job is not to prepare things for 7 months from now. Your job is to do classroom observations and one-on-ones. You didn't do your job today. So that's really nice that you live in an illusion reality that you got ahead and you were proactive and you're such a great person that you did things in advance. No, you didn't. This is why I have a whole nother episode on why I don't believe in the myth of getting ahead. It's full of garbage. It's not true. You can't get ahead. There's no such thing as getting ahead. Like she got ahead. She did something 7 months in advance. Lovely. But she dropped the ball of what she actually needed to do today. This is why I hate to-do lists. And I have a revolution against to-do lists because they're terrible. They do not work in school leadership. They do not work. They completely exhaust leaders out. And it's terrible, right? Anyways, so the calendar standard needs to be placed in the right container. So what do I mean by that, right? Because like this wasn't about a training gap or whatever it is. This is like, this wasn't even a human gap. This is sitting down every single week on Tuesday at 9:30. They do a 30-minute enrollment check-in, right? Where the director has to come with the spreadsheets updated. I did X amount of inquiries. I did X amount of tours. I did X amount of follow-ups. I collected X amount of deposits, right? If you didn't do those things, I don't want you doing something for the Mother's Day breakfast in 9 months from now. I don't care. That's not your job. Your job is not to prepare muffins for 7 months from now and batch freeze them. Your job is to follow up with tours, follow-ups, inquiries, and collect deposits. Priorities live in the calendar because calendars show time, they show sequence, they show accountability. To-do lists don't. And so what happens is they move the problem of defiance, right, to the system design, which was, this is not about your personality of like, I just like to do it this way. I just like to do it this way. I don't care what you like to do. This is the standard. The standard is priorities live in the calendar, not the to-do list. Done. This is not about your personality. This is about the standard in our company, right? So people like to hide behind, I'm just ADD. I'm just neurodivergent. This is very difficult for me. Or, it's just really hard for me to do things. That's lovely. We all have hard things. We all have trauma. We all have things that are difficult for us. Welcome to living the world. Welcome to being a grown-up. Would you like me to list to you all the things that are hard for me? I have a lot of things that are hard for me. I'm sorry, and I have deep empathy that this is something that you are challenged by, which means it is something that you will need more reps in. It is something you will need more practice at, right? In my household, if you complain about doing a chore, that just means you got to have more reps at doing that chore, right? Like when my son, Yassi, he's 7 years old, he'll be 8 in November. He's doing the dishes and he's like, this is so difficult. I'm getting wet and it's so annoying, whatever. He's like complaining. And I was like, well, it looks like you need more practice at washing dishes. And he's like, no, I'm good. Like I could do the dishes. I'm like, well, lovely. Because when you complain about doing something, it means that you need more practice doing it. Because once you have more practice doing it, you won't complain, right? So nobody complains anymore about doing chores in our house because when you complain, that is the invitation that you need more reps, right? So when you tell me this is too hard, looks like you need more practice at dishwashing, right? Now, I know you're listening to this and you're laughing and you're like, oh my God, what an evil witch. You could call me that. That's okay. I know I'm not that. I have a tremendous amount of compassion and love and unconditional love for my children. I love my kids with every fiber of my being. I love my team. I love humans in general. I love relationships. And I also know that to be in a relationship, there needs to be accountability and there needs to be standards and there needs to be integrity. And don't bring me your excuses. This is too hard. This is this. I can't do this. I couldn't remember. I had this. I had a fever. I wasn't feeling well. I had menstrual cramps. Welcome. I also had all those things. Do you see me not bringing my shit forward? No. So stop. Right? This is what we have to understand. This is why I call out in my book about what's not normal. It's not normal for us to accept all these excuses. It's not normal. It's completely unacceptable that we just believe that like this is normal. This can't be normal. We cannot. We must refuse to accept this as normal. It's not. When you tell me something's hard, great, you need more reps. I will not accept that as normal, that it's just hard for you. That means I have zero belief in your ability to do hard things. I have zero confidence in your ability to push your growth edge. I believe you're destined for mediocrity. No, I don't. This is a school of excellence. Okay, so that means that I believe that everyone is destined for excellence. If you're destined for excellence, you're going to bump against hard things. You're going to bump against your growth edge. If you don't want things to be hard, you need a job for mediocrity. You need to go hire yourself for mediocrity. Go search on LinkedIn. Go find a job on Indeed that says, we're hiring for mediocrity. We are looking for people who want the easy way out, who want the path of least resistance, who want to do the least amount and get by. This is the person that we're hiring. Find me a job description that looks like that. None of them. Not a single job description is calling for people. We want average. We're looking for mediocrity. Come, we're going to pay for mediocrity. Nobody does that, but then we tolerate mediocrity. We tolerate average with the excuses. Stop. This is not normal. We are not going to accept this anymore. It's unacceptable. So what happens in the last thing here, right? We go from outsourcing versus ownership. Relief, right? When you're looking for relief, you're trying to outsource things. Leadership comes from building ownership, right? So I'll explain to you the difference. Outsourcing is take this off my plate. Just take it off my plate. I don't want to have it on my to-do list anymore. Ownership is this is yours to hold. And you need to build rhythms of accountability to do it, whether you're in the mood of doing it or not. You got to do it. That's when you stop over-functioning. That's when you stop burning it all down and firing everyone. That's when you finally step into leadership, okay? And so if you've been caught in this, right? If you find yourself saying, it's just easier if I do it myself. Why am I still drowning if I hired all these people, okay? And you want to move into real ownership, right? Then I want you to join me inside of my delegation workshop. You could go to schoolsofexcellence.com/delegation. This is where I teach rhythms, standards, scripts to delegate without overfunctioning and without burning it all down. Thanks so much for joining me. Again, go to schoolsofexcellence.com/delegation. If you are loving the Schools of Excellence podcast and have gotten any value out of it for your school, I would love if you can do two things for me. One, subscribe to the show so you never miss an episode. And two, can you please leave us a review? Reviews help other school leaders know that this is the place to learn how to build a school of excellence. And I would be so grateful if you can do that for us.
Your help and support makes this show to be able to be listened by the thousands of other school leaders all around the world. Thanks so much for listening, for giving us your time and attention each and every week, and I appreciate that you have joined us.